Welcome to TCSYes. It's a Thursday afternoon here on March 29th, 2018. We're just getting ready for spring break in Transylvania County Schools, but we still managed to find two special guests. Well, three. I'm looking at Sarah Reimer, who is the agricultural sciences teacher at Brevard High School, along with Daniel Toole, officer from the FFA club at Brevard High. And we have a special guest who's going to come on the air and provide some sound for us, Lazarus the piglet. Folks, if you're not familiar with what's going on at Brevard High School FFA farm, stay tuned. We've got great information about an event coming up on April the 7th, a gospel concert going on at Brevard High School, and we're going to talk about all of the successful things happening at the farm and through the club and classes at Brevard High. Don't go away. We'll be back with our special guests here on TCSYes in just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Toole on the banjo, bringing out the Foggy Mountain Breakdown. Daniel, thank you so much for being here, and if you'll step up to the microphone, tell us a little bit about why you are kicking off with some banjo music and what that's doing for the Brevard High School FFA.
So ever since I was a small child, I have absolutely loved bluegrass music. I've been immersed in it since I was a baby, really listening to Flatt and Scruggs when I was too small to even have an instrument on my lap. And so I think throughout my years of service in the Brevard FFA chapter, I've kind of brought music to the table. It's actually become a very lucrative fundraiser for our FFA chapter. And so over the past 2 years, we've been trying to seek new and innovative ways to fundraise. And so what better way to do that than to bring a passion that you have to the table? So we're doing that, something to raise money for us while still benefiting the community and sharing our love of music.
I love it. And Sarah Reimer, welcome to the studio. I can't tell you all, if you're listening out there and you haven't seen Lazarus the piglet, he is the most darling thing. We're going to post a picture of him in just a few minutes here on social media. Lazarus stepping up to the microphone. He might be getting a little agitated. Oh! Ms. Reimer, what? Tell us about your relationship with Lazarus. Why is he so special to you?
Well, Lazarus kind of has a cool story. So I teach Animal Science 1 and Animal Science 2 at Brevard High School in our agriculture department. And so my students have had an opportunity this spring to be able to be involved in a lot of management and birthing of some babies. And so we had a litter of piglets a couple weeks ago at school during first and second period. So students got some hands-on experience there. But Lazarus was one of the piglets that was born toward the end of labor, and he was actually born and he was not breathing. And so being optimist that I am, I guess, my students wanted to see if we could revive him. So they did a great job and were able to bring him back with piggy CPR.
They literally went into action and
they did
brought him back.
They did. So we were able to get him back, but he never really wanted to nurse on his mom. So we took it upon ourselves to try to start bottle feeding him. So the students bottle feed him during the day about every 3 hours at school, and then he goes home with me at night and spends the night in my laundry room and gets bottle fed through the night. So
folks, you're listening to TCSYes, which is our weekly show talking about great things happening in Transylvania County Schools every day of the school year. But I've got to tell you that if you want to expand your horizons and turn that clock to 24 hours a day, and instead of the 5 school days, 7 days a week, and all year long, these are the people to talk to. I have spent a fair amount of time visiting the Brevard High School FFA farm. And there's over 40 animals there, Sarah Reimer. You were telling me about that this morning, and we've talked about it a number of times. These animals come from many, many places. Where would you say, some of them have been born on the farm, some have been recently acquired, and we're going to hear from students who are showing calves that have been brought to the farm. But the piglet that you've got there is just one example. How many pigs are currently housed at the barn?
Well, currently we have 5 show pigs in our show barn, and actually all 5 of those piglets were born at our farm in the fall. So students have been raising those since birth, and so they will actually show those piglets at the Spring Fling Show, which is actually in 2 weeks. So they've been working hard on doing that. We also have a couple of sows that we use for our breeding program, and so students learn everything from the beginning of breeding a sow to the gestation period and managing her pregnancy up until the delivery. So it's a wonderful program. And like I said, we had a litter of piglets 2 weeks ago. So when we talk about hands-on learning in the CTE department, we take it literally in the agricultural area.
Daniel, I was in the classroom the same time you were this morning as Mrs. Reimer was handing out slips of paper for folks to sign up for some service projects today. What, in your experience now as a senior at Brevard High School, what have you seen as students chip in and become part of this, as I say, multiple times a day, every day, all year long process of taking care of the animals at the barn?
Well, in the FFA motto, we have a part of it that says doing to learn, and a lot of the learning takes place in the classroom, but much of the learning takes place outside the classroom. And so in agri-science and animal science and these different classes, students get to go down to the farm and be immersed in an agricultural setting. We're one of the only high schools that have a farm, a fully functional farm in western North Carolina, and so we're very proud of that. And from my experience, children helping out on the farm really helps them learn, first of all, but it also teaches them the value of hard work. And it teaches them a lot of other soft skills that they can apply to their career in life no matter what they go into.
Learning by doing, and all that goes into what you're doing in FFA comes at a huge cost. We were just talking about it before the show, and I'll be honest, you kind of blew me away. It takes how much for you as a club to do the things that you do and attend the conferences, go to livestock shows, do whatever you do to support the farm?
Sure. So our estimated cost yearly to be able to offer the opportunities we do to our students is about $40,000. And so that includes everything from taking them to leadership conferences. We go to the FFA's national and state conventions. The national convention is in Indianapolis, Indiana. We go to the state convention during the summer, which is in Raleigh. But it also involves being able to do things outside of that as well. So students raising livestock at our farm and showing them and being able to sell them for a profit. And so it's just being able to give students a big opportunity to learn all what agriculture has to offer. And, we do everything from animals to horticulture to sustainable agriculture. So it's just a really big, important part of our program. And we never want to limit what we can do just because of the finances. So
I would love to help people get information about this upcoming event, and I'm going to rely on Mr. Toole to help us do that. I can see a Facebook event. I did a search for Gospel Concert Brevard FFA, and that was able to help me find exactly what you all are doing next weekend, the Saturday of spring break. April 7th, Daniel Toole, what should people be on the lookout for, and how do you want them to get connected?
So on April 7th, the Brevard FFA chapter is going to be having our Southern Gospel fundraiser. So we're going to have 4 bands coming from all parts of West North Carolina, some South Carolina. They're coming here because they have faith in our program, they love our program. And so the concert will start at 5 on April 7th in the Brevard High School auditorium, and tickets can be sold at the door or you can buy them ahead of time. All you have to do is call me, and my cell phone number is 828-553-8975. You can give me a call, and you can buy tickets from me.
Give us that number again, Daniel.
It's 828-553-8975.
And folks can also go on the Facebook event, as I said, and start to get information there. If you go to Facebook and look up Brevard FFA Gospel Concert, April 7th, that's the Saturday of spring break, from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Brevard High School Auditorium. Tickets are only $5, and this is one of many fundraisers that students do throughout the year. I've seen Sarah Reimer out with students cleaning up after football games to try and put some money aside. You all, we're actually going to listen to a clip right now. I got the chance to talk with students as they were cleaning up the farm to get ready for spring break. And we talked with students Elizabeth Pace and Caroline Pace, who have been part of Mr. Harris's horticulture classes and taking plants to the Transylvania Farmers Market. We're going to listen to them now, and we'll come back and talk some more about the event. You're listening to TCSYes. These are students from Brevard High School talking about getting ready for the Farmers Market and how that helps the FFA. So we're here at the feed room down at the Brevard High School barn, and I'm talking with the Pace twins. Elizabeth, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
And Caroline.
Hey.
So, ladies, tell me a little bit about what you're doing today. It's the last day before spring break, and why are we down here, Elizabeth?
So this morning, her first period, Miss Reimer, Animal Science 2, we're doing a work day at the farm. So we're just cleaning up and straightening up for the people that will be feeding over spring break, because the teachers don't always want to have to do it. And so we're just trying to make it easier for everybody and safer and cleaner before spring break starts.
10 days from now, you guys will be back in class. Caroline, you guys have been going out every weekend, though. You're used to being on task on days that aren't school days, right? You've been going out to the farmers market with Mr. Harris. Tell me about that.
Yes, sir. So on Saturday mornings, we go to the farmers market with Mr. Harris, and in the springtime, we sell plants from our greenhouse. And that's just a great way for us to get out in the community, and it's really fun. So,
what are some of the things that are going to be on sale at the farmers market in the springtime?
So we have some wax leaf begonias. We have a couple of different varieties of geraniums. We also have Boston ferns, Elizabeth? Yeah. Boston ferns. And as spring starts, we'll have like impatiens and pansies and other stuff like that.
Tell me about, Elizabeth, tell me about a typical Saturday when you guys are out doing this. When does your day start and when does it end?
Well, the farmer's market starts from, I think, 7. So we have to get up, and he usually has his fourth period help him load the plants onto the trailers prior to that night. And so it starts around 7, starts around 8, and you go there, and it's a closed market, so once you're there, you have to stay there until it's over. But people just come by, and a lot of people like to talk and ask you questions like about their flowers, and sometimes I don't know, so you have to ask Mr. Harris. But it's nice, and when it warms up, it's less miserable. Have
you all gotten used to some regular customers, or are there some folks who keep coming back?
There's definitely folks that come back. Our greenhouse opens up here, too, like after school. There's a certain day it starts, but I don't know that date. And so we have people that just randomly walk in and say hi to Mr. Harris because they're regulars, and that usually come back and buy the same thing.
Right. You all didn't stumble into this. Caroline, when did you, like, how far back did you start taking your animal science classes with Mrs. Reimer or studying with Mr. Harris?
So we started our freshman year. Our older brother and sister were both part of FFA, and they really loved that and enjoyed that. So the first year we got here, we took agri-science, and we've taken almost every ag class since then. And so we're just regulars to the ag program.
Now, there are lots of times that you do something in high school that you don't necessarily plan to go on and do after school. I mean, I imagine people in the band aren't going to be professional musicians. I can talk about my own kids that way. What are your plans? Does this shape what you're going to be doing after high school?
It does. Me and Elizabeth both love agriculture very much. We plan on attending NC State, and we're going to do engineering and something in agriculture.
Wow. Elizabeth, what's the best part about being in FFA? You've gone to do some conferences. You probably have some plans for this spring as well. What's coming up for you as a member of FFA?
Coming up for me is my SAE project.
What does that mean?
It means supervised agricultural experience. Everyone in an ag class is it's mandated that you do one, and it's just to show that like you're learning and you're doing things like that relate to the class you're taking. And so like for me, I'm in advanced studies, and it can for horticulture, so I TA for Mr. Harris, and it transfers into animal science not only just because it's an FFA class or an ag class, but because it also has leadership roles and responsibilities. So coming up for the spring might be regional rally for me. I don't know if I'm competing this year or not, and maybe FFA camp, which would be my 3rd year going.
Wow. And have you gone to the fair, Caroline, and done any showing or anything else there during your time?
I have not showed while I've been here. I've mostly just dealt with the greenhouse, but we do go to the fair and we visit our stalls there, and we help out if we can.
Wow. So we're talking with Elizabeth and Caroline Pace, just 2 of many students milling around the barn and the farm here with over 40 animals at the Brevard High School FFA farm. Thanks, ladies, for taking some time out from cleaning the feed room.
Thank you.
Daniel Toole, Sarah Reimer, Lazarus the Pig joining me here in the studio. You're listening to TCSYes, and that was our brief interview with Caroline and Elizabeth Pace down at the Brevard High School FFA farm. Mr. Toole, I'd love for you to keep informing people because they might have just tuned in. April 7th is a very special day, and in order to make things possible like what we just heard them describe and to go along with the work of going to the farmers market and taking the work of their hands and really making that something that helps to support the program, you all put on one big event every year. What's going to happen Saturday, April 7th, and how should people get details?
On Saturday, April 7th, the Brevard FFA chapter is going to be having our Southern Gospel concert. We're very excited. There's going to be 4 bands come out and play. It'll start at 5 p.m. and go until 9. The bands will play about an hour apiece. You can get tickets at the door at 5 o'clock in the Brevard High School auditorium, or you can call me personally and I'll get you a ticket in your hand. My cell phone number is 828-553-8975. 553-8975. Daniel Toole is your ticket connection for the gospel concert being put on by the Brevard FFA at Brevard High School Saturday, April the 7th, starting at 5 p.m. Rain or shine, because it's inside the auditorium. I'm looking at the Facebook event. Again, I can search it by Brevard FFA Gospel Concert, and I see bands named Isaac's Well, Mountain Bridge Band, Abishai, and Birds and a Crow. Does any of these names ring a bell to you, Mr. Toole? They do. I've confirmed each one individually, but I play in one of these bands. I am the banjo player for the Birds and a Crow. I've played with them for about 2 years, and I love the band. They're so awesome. They support our program. I enjoy being the banjo player. And
what we would love is to feature another song by you. What's your pick?
I'll go Earl's Breakdown.
All right, here we go. Daniel Toole bringing us Earl's Breakdown on TCSYes. Daniel Toole, ladies and gentlemen, from the Brevard FFA chapter here in Transylvania County Schools. You're listening to TCSYes, and our job is to bring you the best of what's happening with our students, families, educators, community partners, the folks who make things happen in Transylvania County Schools, which is really the central point of pride for our community. And we're working on a fundraiser. We're promoting the April 7th gospel concert, which is just one among many things that this club does. Mr. Reimer, in raising that $40,000, that goes to fund a lot of things that we just talked about. One of which is getting to shows and getting to national and state conferences. We had a chance to talk with Shade Wilbanks and Courtney Meyer earlier, but before I play their interview for everyone at home, what is going on when you have 6 or 7 students coming in every morning like clockwork and back to the school every evening like clockwork? My first assumption would be that it's for some kind of a sports team. It's for some kind of something really, really important that they're passionate about, coming for, like they're coming to work out and they're going to practice. These students are doing something very different that began in the spring and is going to go all the way till the fall. What's got your kids coming to the farm so often? Well,
a lot of it is just their interest and their passion in agriculture. We have a few students that will be raising dairy steers. Western North Carolina offers a great dairy steer project for local high school and middle school students, and they each get a dairy calf in the spring, and they are responsible for caring for that calf, feeding them, if they're sick, making sure that they get their medication, and they'll raise them through the spring, summer, and fall. And so they'll actually show those animals in the fall at the Mountain State Fair and also the Haywood County Fair.
Now, these are not the animals that are being born at the farm. That's a whole other initiative that you began just a couple of years ago. You had some heifers given. Mm-hmm. They've had babies. Mm-hmm. They're bull calves that now you're going to be able to steer out according to what we learned earlier today. Mm-hmm. This is something that has really blossomed.
It has, and just from the interest in the community, a couple years ago we received a grant from the North Carolina Tobacco Trust Fund, and one of the things we wanted to do is to really improve our farm, and it hadn't been used for several years, and so we were able to install some new fencing, and a community member actually took notice and wanted to contribute to our farm, and so Everett Farm donated 4 bred beef heifers. They're Hereford Red Angus Cross, and so they all had calves last year, which students showed last year at the Mountain State Fair. We still have all 3 of those calves, and so we are planning to sell the steer that came out of that group, but we have 2 heifers that we will be breeding this spring. But we also bred back those cows that Everett Farm had donated, and they all had calves this spring, which students help care for, and we actually had one that was needed to be delivered Thursday night during a baseball and softball game. So I had about 10 students down there Thursday night helping me pull a calf, but he's doing great. So
and it's not, folks, if you didn't catch what just happened there, Sarah Reimer kind of pivoted from what students do day in, day out around the year to all of a sudden there are new animals being born every couple of weeks at the barn, and your students weren't just sitting around. They weren't just at home watching TV.
No.
Where were your students when the call went out?
Well, it's crazy how social media is such a great aspect.
That's right.
Sometimes I hate it and sometimes I love it, but I loved it at that time. But we had a couple of students that were at school for the baseball and softball games, but also we were having an FFA meeting when this cow went into labor. And so we had been watching this cow for a week and a half. She had been overdue for a week and a half, so we knew she was going to have a pretty hard labor. But, once word got out from one student, before I knew it, I had a whole barnyard full of animal science kids and my vet assisting students wanting to participate and help. And
somewhere on the sidelines, you had state FFA officers.
We did. We had, during our FFA meeting, it was our annual Green Hand and Chapter Degree ceremony. So we always invite a couple of state officers to come and speak. And so while they were at the farm, we were delivering a calf. So
somewhere in the middle of the 4th or 5th inning as the games were going on, right behind, literally, I took pictures and some video clips earlier today, and the same flagpole that is right behind the where the steers are kept is exactly where the baseball field is. We're talking about the same plot of land. So, folks, if you have just tuned in, we're listening to students and teachers from the Brevard FFA chapter talk about their fundraiser coming up on Saturday, April the 7th. That's Lazarus the pig. Lazarus is just one among several of the most recent litter born to Rhonda, and Rhonda's been getting a lot of extra special care as well. I was able to watch students taking samples from Rhonda in order to make sure she's doing well, get those samples to some scientists who are going to help make sure that Rhonda's going to be healthy. We talked with 2 students who have a very particular role in this. We talked with Shade Wilbanks and Courtney Meyer, who are 2 of those students that Sarah Reimer was just describing because they're raising cattle that they're going to show later this season. We're going to turn to that interview now. You're listening to TCSYes, and here's our interview with 2 students at the Brevard FFA farm. As part of looking at what's going on here at the Brevard High School FFA farm, we're talking with Shade Wilbanks. Shade, thanks for taking some time away from the farm to talk about the farm.
Hi.
And Courtney Meyer.
Hi.
So, ladies, for the past 2-3 weeks, you've been coming down here every morning at 7 and every evening at 7. Why, on top of everything else you have to do in your life, are you coming here to the farm for that? Shade?
Well, this year I'm going to be showing a dairy Holstein steer. We'll show them in September at the Mountain State Fair, and we have to take care of them every morning and every night.
Wow. Courtney, when you're here, I was here before school this morning with you all just kind of nosing around, and you weren't just taking care of cattle. What else were you doing here at the farm?
Every morning we come and we have to feed our calves as well as make sure their stalls are clean, and we have to sweep up around their pens, and we have to make sure that there's nothing wrong with all the other animals that are there at the farm, and we have to make sure that the feed room is always clean and picked up as well. In addition to your calves, there's about 40 other animals here at the farm. Caroline, what's the most challenging part of keeping up with all of this on top of your school schedule? Definitely the time management, having to come out here every morning before school and every evening regardless of how much homework we have. So time management is definitely the biggest part of that. I suppose that also, Shade, gets in the way of, does it affect how you play sports or do anything else?
Well, I don't really play sports. So,
well, there you go.
But I do have my house chores around my farm. So I have cattle I have to take care of at home and here. So that's a lot of time.
Tell me a little bit more about that. You're taking care of a farm at home. How many animals are you tending there?
We have about 30 head of cattle. We have chickens, rabbits, sheep. So I come in from school, I take care of them before I do my homework, and then by the time I'm done there, I have like 30, 40 minutes to do my homework, and I have to be back at school to take care of my calf.
That's pretty awesome. So, Courtney, when spring break comes, I imagine you get a break from all of that, right? Someone else will come and do this for the next 10 days, right?
No, actually, we have a schedule that we have to make, and we have to sign up, and regardless of if it's a break or not, we have to be here every morning and every night.
Good weather, bad weather, good homework, bad homework. Shade, you just started a few weeks ago here in March. You're going to be going all the way through September. What's it going to be like for you at the end? What's the payoff for you?
One, I get to make new friends through showing. I get to spend time with my old friends. I get a bond with a calf. I get the experience of showing a calf, which is just like you're in a ring with a bunch of other kids. It's really competitive, but it's really fun at the same time. And in the end, we do get a little bit of money for it, but we have to pay back all of our expenses that the school's been paying for us.
Oh, that's right. So the feed and the housing, like these are the things that you would pay for on your own farm. Brevard High School FFA is able to help you with that.
Yeah, and then once we get our paycheck for selling our calves, we have to load our calves up onto the trailer and give them away. They give us money, and then we pay back the school for all the expenses they've covered throughout the year.
Shade, which calf is yours?
Deets.
Deets is your calf. And what about you, Courtney?
My calf is Bo Duke.
Bo Duke. Okay, so is there another brother in there somewhere?
No, just Bo.
So were you all here when these calves were born?
No, we actually had to go to the livestock center and pick up our calves that came in from another large-scale dairy farm. So we got there with about 50 other students who were also getting calves that year. So we had to draw a number and pick out our calf. And they were some of them were 3 or 4 days old, some of them were just born that day.
Wow. On the topic of calves being born, Shade, I caught up with you as you were walking back up the road from where the heifers and calves are this year. There have been lots of animals born recently here at the Brevard High School FFA farm, and you were administering medicine. This isn't just fun and games. You guys are out here doing real work with these livestock.
Yes, sir. We have had 3 calves born in the past month or so. They're all bull calves, and we'll end up steering them. We also have 3 cows down there that this is their second year having calves, and we have 2 replacement heifers that were born last year. One of them, the new grass, as it gets warm and new things start growing, it messes with their stomachs, so they end up with stomach aches and diarrhea and stuff, so you have to give them medicine.
Oh, wow, that's hard.
Yeah.
So you were administering medicine. You're actually taking care of the livestock as though they were your own.
Yeah.
Courtney, I saw you tending to the pig pen, and Shade, the same with you. There's a lot going on in there. What kinds of things are you all dealing with right now on the pigs?
Right now, Rhonda is having a small issue with a spot on her back from being in the farrowing crate, so we have to give her medication for that, and today we'll actually be taking a sample of some of the cells from that and sending it off to a vet office to make sure it's not cancerous. Right. And then because it's an enclosed space, we have to make sure that it's kept clean so that there's no risk for diseases or anything. So that's what I was doing, was cleaning out the pen. And
that's with lots of piglets in there who, again, are new additions to the farm with over 40 animals down here.
Yes, it's a big deal.
And just yesterday when I visited class, I saw some folks looking at slides. You all actually do some of the pre-work. You were checking out some of the samples that you got from right here on the farm. You're putting the science in ag science, I guess is what I'm saying. I've seen you all do a lot of really intense hands-on stuff down here.
Yes, we were able to take fecal samples and blood samples and skin cell samples and look at them under the microscope to check for any parasites or diseases.
Wow. So at the end of the day, you must be really glad you did this. Is this something that's kind of shaping the way you're going to look at what you do after school? I don't know. Courtney, what grade are you in school now?
I'm a junior, so I'm in 11th grade.
Okay. And Shade, what about you?
I'm 10th grade sophomore.
Okay. So is this shaping the way you all are looking at what you're going to do after Brevard High School? Courtney?
I will definitely be doing something closer related to ag. I will be most likely going for a mechanical engineering degree, so that way I can design better farm equipment and make it more readily available for small farmers.
And Shade, this isn't your first time around the pen, so what are you planning to do?
After high school, I wanted to attend NC State to go for either veterinarian school or ag business, to either help take care of animals or livestock distribution and contracting, so selling animals for big, large-scale companies.
talking with two students among many, but two of the 6 or 7 that I met here this morning at the FFA farm at Brevard High School. Shade Wilbanks, good luck with everything you're doing, and have a good spring break.
Thank you.
And Courtney Meyer, take care, and thanks again. We look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you so much.
I guarantee you, this is Kevin Smith bringing TCSYes to you every Thursday afternoon from 3:25 to 4 o'clock. And today's show on Thursday, March 29th, we are going to hear more about these students. They go and do amazing things. You just heard from Courtney Meyer and Shade Wilbanks after we talked with Elizabeth and Caroline Pace. And we have student Daniel Toole here in the studio. Daniel is representing for the Brevard FFA Gospel Concert coming up on April the 7th from 5 to 9 p.m. We're going to have a little song here and then come back with details about the tickets. Mr. Toole, take it away.
Headed down south to the land of the pines, thumbing my way into North Carolina. Staring down the road, pray to God I'll see headlights. Made it to the coast in 17 hours, picking me a bouquet of dogwood flowers, and I'm hoping to Raleigh I can see my baby tonight. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. I said, hey, mama, rock me.
Daniel Toole, folks, and Sarah Reimer here in the studio with Lazarus the pig. I saw Lazarus almost falling asleep during that last song. But he definitely wants you to come to this concert on Saturday night, April the 7th from 5 to 9 p.m. Daniel Toole, how do you want people to get tickets to that show?
So tickets will be sold at the door on the day of the concert. The concert will be held at in the Brevard High School auditorium. They can be bought right there at the door. If you don't want to buy them at the door, if you want to buy them ahead of time, you can call my personal cell phone number, which is 828-553-8975. That's 828-553-8975, and I will make sure that you get a ticket in your hand. The community support that's given to the Brevard FFA chapter is phenomenal, and I just want to thank the entire community for helping us. And I know that we do a lot of amazing things that not everyone in the community gets to see, so I'm glad for shows like this, like TCSYes, that help gain us some exposure. But anyway, if you want any more information, there's a Facebook page. Search Southern Gospel Concert, Brevard FFA chapter. It'll come up. And you can also call my personal cell phone number, and we'll get a ticket in your hand. Thank you so much.
Sarah Reimer, is there anybody else that you want to thank about this fundraiser or anything else that's going on for the farm this year?
Well, we get a lot of support from we have an alumni association, the Brevard FFA alumni, and we're always looking for new members. You actually do not have to be a Brevard FFA graduating student or anyone that's been involved in the alumni or the FFA organization. If you want to be a part of some of the great things that we're doing in our agriculture department and really be there to support, this is a great organization to become part of. And so we meet about every 2 or 3 months at Brevard High School, and if you're interested in that, you can send me an email. My email is sreimer, SRHYMER @tcsnc.org, and I'd love to be able to connect you with our alumni association.
Outstanding. Mr. Toole, why don't you give us a little lick, and I'll take us out on that music. You've been listening to TCSYes, folks. We're here with Daniel Toole and Sarah Reimer in the studio, and we want you to remember to look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're here every Thursday from 3:25 to 4 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to talking with you next week. Until then, take care.